I remember Dr. Newhart coming to last year's Adjunct Palooza, along with the other campus presidents. I was really impressed by the fact that not only did he attend Adjunct Palooza, but he stayed through the entire plenary session and made it a point to hang out afterwards, and that made an impression. I've had a chance to get to know him a little bit. He really cares about faculty. He really cares about students. He cares about learning. I found him to be an extremely reflective individual, which gives me a great deal of confidence to know that the direction that we're moving, wherever it is going forward, will be done with intentionality, will be done with purpose. However, having said that, he is the provost. This is a faculty event. So we've picked some appropriate bumper music as he makes his way to the stage, and I hope you'll appreciate it.
The dark side's calling out and is real. She'll never know just how I feel.
It was this or Back in Black. We couldn't decide.
Out in the shadow, she walks like a dream. Make me feel crazy, make me feel so mean. And nothing gonna save me from the love that's blind. Slip to the dark side and cross out. On the dark side, oh yeah. On the dark side, oh yeah.
Thank you. Jerry and I share a little bit of a warped sense of humor, so he said he was thinking about Back in Black, and I just thought that was a little too dark. But I suggested the dark side, since obviously administration has moved over to the dark side, or at least that's the story. So thanks for indulging us in a little bit of fun on an evening when you could have been somewhere else, but instead you chose to be here with us. And that says a lot about your commitment to the institution. It says a lot about your commitment to our students. It says a lot about your commitment as a faculty member. And so, first things first, I want to thank you for your service to FSCJ. I'm not going to read the slide to you, but I truly believe that adjunct faculty have an incredibly important role to play in our type of institution. And when I say our type of institution, I mean an institution that's focused on teaching and learning. And when we started, for those of you that know my background, I was the Dean of Baccalaureate Programs for 7 years, and before that I was at the Florida Department of Education with the Division of Community Colleges, then the Division of Florida Colleges. And baccalaureates was part of my portfolio of things that I worked on, along with other academic programs. But as we started to go down the road of baccalaureate degrees, we had a lot of conversations with our four-year partners, our partners that were offering bachelor's degrees and graduate degrees, universities, public, private. And there was a lot of concern on their part about the quality of our education and whether or not we could pull off a bachelor's degree. And I have to tell you, in every instance, my response has been the quality of our programs at the undergraduate level, in my opinion, far exceeds the experience at many public and private universities, particularly large publics where you have massive introductory courses with 200, 300, 400, 500 students in a massive lecture hall. I think what we do at our institution, our type of institution, which I would call a comprehensive state college, is incredibly important. We're opening access for students who in many cases would never have an opportunity to pursue a degree. We have a focus on teaching, we have a focus on learning, we have a focus on students, and we bring a great combination of both practical, theoretical knowledge together so that it's not one-sided, so that students not only know things, but students can do things. They can demonstrate their competencies. And so in so many of our programs, we have those opportunities built in, and in so many of the classes you teach, you're already doing that. And we'll talk about some more high-impact teaching practices as we go along throughout the evening tonight. But there's no way that we could come to this type of a setting, this type of a session without me saying thank you. And that comes from a person who taught as an adjunct in the past and understands where you are and what you do. So Jerry talked about a little bit about me caring quite a bit about students and about education. And my whole entire educational philosophy can be summed up in 2 words: we care. And I'm going to challenge people to get on board with that philosophy over the next year as I come on board as provost. We have to care. And that sounds simple until you start thinking about the implications of what it means to care, and what it means to be a caring faculty member, what it means to be a caring administrator, what it means to be a caring advisor. Because when you care, you automatically engage. And engagement is our theme for the entire year at FSCJ. Dr. Biotto is pushing this theme of engagement, and I think it's absolutely right on the mark. It's absolutely right on the money. Because when you care, you engage. And when you engage, you drive students to educational excellence. And when you care, you engage with your teaching, and you drive yourself to become better at what you do. When you care, you notice when students are struggling. When you care, you take the time to reach out and say to them, hey, you haven't been in class, I'm worried about you, I care about you, I want you to be successful. Here are some things you can do to get back on track. That takes a lot of time, energy, and effort, folks, and you know that better than anyone. But that's what caring means. The second piece of caring is about how you behave professionally. It's so easy to blame somebody else. It's so easy to say, well, these students are not succeeding in my class because those advisors put this unprepared student in my class. Well, those advisors and us and you are all part of FSCJ. We're all part of the same family. We're all working towards the same goals. We all want the same thing for students. We all need to care. So I am very big on professional exchanges between colleagues. I get irritated when I see sharp emails. I get irritated by conversations and meetings I'm in where people take an aggressive tone. There's no need for that. We work in one of the greatest places you could possibly work in Jacksonville. Smart people, great facilities, and we have a mission that is unparalleled. We're not here to make money. We're here to change people's lives, and you do that every single day. You change lives, whether you know it or not. I love it that Jerry said he noticed that I stayed around after Adjunct Palooza last year, because that ties right into a theme we've been talking about as administrators, where you have no idea the impact that your behaviors make on other people. I didn't give that a second thought, but he noticed, and that stuck in his mind. People are watching what you do. They watch to see if you care. They watch to see if you engage. They watch how you interact with your colleagues. They listen to your tone of voice. They pay attention to how you make them feel. All of that is critical for great teaching and learning. And so at the end of the day, we have to care. So I'm supposed to talk a little bit about what's new this year at FSCJ in the world of academic affairs. And I want to talk a little bit about a new school-wide academic structure that we're putting into place this year. And this structure, where we are organizing academically into schools, 5 different schools, I'll show you those in just a minute, that structure actually came from input from faculty members. In fact, a faculty member that's in the audience today, Harvey Slentz, was part of that group that took input from his colleagues and pushed that forward into the hands of administrators and said, hey, have you thought about this? And we said, hey, that sounds like a pretty good idea. Why? Because we want to be one college, not 5 separate campuses. And so we want to unite the faculty on all 5 campuses. And so how do you do that? You put them in a school that spans all 5 campuses. So we think it's going to help us get to that one college culture that we were striving for, that Dr. Biotto talked about so much last year. Just because it's a new year and we've got a new theme of engagement doesn't mean that this idea of the one college culture is going away. If anything, it's being reinforced more and more with everything that we do. Communication, again, as we have the right people in the room, as we're organized by schools, communication both horizontally within the organization, from you to your peers, and vertically in the organization, from faculty members to associate deans and vice presidents and campus presidents, that all becomes, the plan is, that all becomes more effective, more frequent, more relevant. We're building bridges from the faculty, the people that are in the classroom with the students, to the folks that are making decisions about institutional policy and practice. And that makes a lot of sense. And of course, engagement. As we organize by schools, there are going to be more opportunities to engage, more opportunities to focus on areas of curriculum, and I'll show you all these in just a minute. But the engagement level is something we want to pump up because you are the smartest people in the room. We have this incredible resource of faculty members who are experts in their field, who have gone on and have earned graduate degrees. The smartest people in the city of Jacksonville and the northeast part of Florida are right here with us. We need your help to make the institution better, and we want to reach out and engage with you, and we want to hear what you have to say so that we can continue to take this institution on an upward trajectory. So there are 5 schools that I mentioned. One is the School of Arts and Sciences, and Dr. Maggie Cabral Malley at the South Campus will serve as the executive chair of this school. Each school is going to have at least one, if not 2, discipline liaisons, faculty members, to carry the messages and facilitate the communication back and forth between faculty and administrators, and to help faculty organize their thoughts, organize their communication, and help facilitate our work. So the 2 discipline liaisons for the School of Arts and Sciences, Dean Moore and Karen Otto, very recently selected, and they'll be going into that role this year. They're there as a resource for our faculty, for our full-time faculty, as well as our adjunct faculty. One thing I want to say, one of the biggest questions or most frequent questions that comes up about these schools is, well, does that change our reporting structure? Who I report to? Do I report to Dr. Malley now, even if I'm teaching in arts and sciences at Kent campus? And the answer is no. You still report up through the same pathways that you always have. And this is more so probably related, I'm thinking, to departments, faculty, disciplines within a campus. But certainly, it's important for you to understand that the school structure is an overlay. It's an organizational overlay to help us communicate and get things done. It is not a change in the organizational structure. So arts and sciences faculty at Deerwood or downtown or Kent still report up through the chain of command, if you will. Chain of communication is a term I prefer, at their home campus. Does that make sense? Organizational overlay. School of Business and Professional Studies. Currently, as the Kent campus president, I'll serve as executive chair as I move into the role of provost. The new Kent campus president will be executive chair of the College of Business and Professional Studies. And I wanted to take a moment, if you'll just indulge me, to give you a little bit of a sense of how things are organized. So in arts and sciences, it's all the traditional gen ed disciplines that you would think of. So communications and humanities and fine arts and foreign languages, what we call foundations, so our developmental educational programs, natural sciences, and then at the baccalaureate level, digital media will be in there. Our fine arts and our theater programs will all be arts and sciences. For business and professional studies, that'll be programs like business administration, our insurance programs, life insurance and real estate, those are PSAV programs. Paralegal studies, accounting technology, financial services, BAS and supervision and management, aviation maintenance and management, hospitality and tourism, which includes our culinary program, and logistics, including supply chain management and commercial vehicle driving. So those are all grouped under the School of Business and Professional Studies. And again, this is for communication, for working on curriculum, working on program review, working on all the kinds of things that we do to help move ourselves forward academically. School of Education and Technology, led by our own Marie Nagy from the downtown campus. You can see the discipline liaisons listed here. We've got 2. Okay, so this is going to include, according to the magic notes, Child Care Center operations, information technology management, computer information technology and industrial management technology. This is more on the IT side. Architectural design and construction technology, interior design technology, building construction technology. Notice the technology is piling up in the School of Education and Technology. Building trades and construction design technology, okay, engineering technology, bachelor's degree in education. All right, so just so you can get a sense of what's going to be in these different schools. School of Human Services, Deerwood, Executive Chair, President Jana Coy. Discipline Liaison, Lindsay Webster. So Human Services is sort of a broad umbrella term. It encapsulates a lot of things. A lot of what you might think of as public safety, public service, fits there. So we've got things like Public Safety Management, BAS, Emergency Administration and Management, AS, Criminal Justice Technology, Fire Science Technology, Correctional Officer, Law Enforcement Academy, Law Enforcement Officer, Massage Therapy, Funeral Services, and our bachelor's degree in Human Services. And then our School of Health Sciences, Executive Chair Sandy Robinson, North Campus. And this one is a pretty tight grouping when you think about all of our allied health programs, our health science programs. So we've got nursing, both BS and practical nursing, cardiovascular, surgical, dental hygiene, EMS, paramedic, health information technology, histologic technology, medical lab technology, occupational therapy, pharmacy, ophthalmic, physical therapy, radiation therapy, respiratory care, organized under this new School of Health Sciences. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor of the schools. And if you're teaching in any of those program areas, hopefully that resonated for you in terms of which school you'll be organized into. What are some of the reasons why we did this other than Harvey thought it was a good idea? Okay? There were a lot of good reasons. There were a lot of good reasons. Not that we needed additional reasons, right? That ranks high up there. I didn't add it to the PowerPoint slide, but I mean, that's probably, and John Wood, right, thank you. Thank you very much. Both architects of this strategy. But when you think about it, again, it helps to promote this one college concept, break down barriers, facilitate communication and engagement across campuses, helps us look at academic quality, curriculum issues, helps us drive continuous improvement, share research, maybe do research, share best practices, talk about professional development that's needed in the disciplines, work on grants together, program review, that's huge. Program review encapsulates a lot of this, along with sharing data and strategic planning. We have to look at our programs. Are they making sense? Do we have enough resources? Do we have enough students? Do we have enough faculty? What do the outcomes look like? Are people getting jobs? Program review is very comprehensive, and we want to strengthen program review. We think the school structure is going to help us do that. At the end of the day, though, it's all about building bridges. As we engage all of you and engage our faculty, and engage our instructional administrators, we're going to keep walking down that road towards educational excellence. That's the plan. So it's exciting, and we'll be kicking this off next week. So I want to talk a little bit about high-impact educational practices. I've got a handout that I think Jerry's going to work on sending around. As I was thinking about the opportunity that I had to talk with you a little bit tonight, one of the things I really wanted to do was give you something relevant and not just have me talk to you about updates and how much fun it is to have Jerry pick out music for my introduction. I wanted it to be relevant. I wanted it to be a little bit meaty. This is about professional development. Research says that the more we focus on professional development for adjuncts, the better you perform and the better our students perform. So I felt like it was really important to spend a little bit of time talking about these high-impact educational practices. Many of you already do some of these in your classrooms. Thank you. Thank you for being on the cutting edge. This comes from the American Association of Colleges and Universities. And a lot of research by George Koo into what works, what matters to students, and what works to improve learning and teaching and learning. So as the handouts are coming around, there are 10 high-impact practices. I'm going to be emphasizing these moving forward in my role as provost. I'd like you to think about them, think about ways to incorporate these into your classrooms more and more. It helps students engage. We're back to that theme of engagement. All of these practices help students engage and get to a meaningful level of learning, a meaningful level of self-reflection, new levels of growth and development. When I first took over at Kent campus and I had an opportunity to talk to the faculty out there, I spent a lot of time talking about college student development. And a lot of people think that that's just something that belongs on the student affairs side of the house. Folks, college student development is the reason we're here. I mean, we're here to teach and to give people skills and to help them get jobs. We're definitely all about that. But we're also about developing the whole student and moving them forward intellectually, socially, physically, morally, ethically. We want them to be contributors to their communities, good contributors, good citizens, world citizens. We want them to understand diversity. And we want them to be able to think and write and work in groups. We want them to be able to problem solve, to apply all that they've learned. So we're trying to move them across a wide range of developmental tasks. And those tasks are much different for an 18-year-old than they are for a 28-year-old and a 38-year-old and a 48-year-old and a 58-year-old and a 68-year-old. And you're going to have all those students in your classrooms. But this developmental theory I'm talking about really never ends. Development is lifelong, and your job is to help move them forward through reflection, through contemplation, through engaging conversations, through being exposed to different ways of thinking, different perspectives. That's all part of your job. So first-year seminars and experiences can help do this. At Florida State College at Jacksonville, this is an area that we need to focus on moving forward. We don't really have what I would consider to be a fully developed first-year experience or freshman-year experience program. We also don't have 18-year-olds that just moved into residence halls where it's easy to grab them and do a first-year experience. So it's a little different for us at a state college. That doesn't mean we can't do it. We do have things like orientation and SLS classes that start us down that road, but that's not nearly as comprehensive as it could be. So in the future, this is going to be an area of focus. I'm already working with Chris Holland on the student affairs side of the house to think and talk about a more comprehensive first-year experience program. Common intellectual experiences. I think if you're following along on the handout, it references back to Common Core curriculum. And that may even hearken you back to things like the Great Books approach that some colleges and universities take to educate students. You can do common intellectual experiences even in your classroom. It doesn't have to be at the college level or at the department level or at the discipline level. It can be in your own classroom, and it can be about the common experience that those students go through as you take them from point A to B and push them along that developmental continuum. So think outside the box a little bit. Think about how you can apply it in your classroom. Those common experiences get people thinking and talking after class, in the hallway, on the way to the parking lot, online, in discussion boards. And it's those kinds of conversations that help people think in new ways, re-examine their own values. That's all really important stuff. Learning communities, another high-impact practice. We do learning communities at FSCJ. We've been very successful. We've funded some. I encourage you to jump on the bandwagon to the extent that you can. I encourage you to reach out to the student affairs side of the house if you can, because there are clubs and organizations and lectures and speakers and art gallery exhibits that probably link up with your classes in a lot of different ways. And if they don't, those are some of the most creative people that I know of that you can brainstorm with to think about how to mirror or how to marry the co-curricular side of the house with the curricular side of the house, and to start this idea of learning communities. A lot of times this means different disciplines working together around a big idea or common practice, okay, but it can also be with the student affairs side of the house, or it could be with one of your colleagues in this room. Writing intensive courses. Man, that takes a lot of work as a faculty member. Papers, how do you grade them? Do you worry about the grammar? Do you just worry about the content? What kind of rubric do you use? How much time is it going to take me to grade all those papers from 35 students? It takes a lot of work, but there's a lot of bang for the buck in writing intensive courses. There's a quote that I'm going to mangle up from George Orwell. It goes something along the lines of, those who can write well think well, but those who cannot think well will have their thinking done for them by others. Something along those lines. I'll paraphrase. The point is, the act of writing sharpens thinking, sharpens critical analysis, critical thinking, the organization of thought. I can say without a doubt that because I had great writing teachers in high school and in college, because I was an English education major, I was forced to learn how to write well. I can say without a doubt that those experiences advanced my career, because the first job I got was because it involved grant writing, and I was a good writer. And so if I could write quarterly reports, and if I could follow along with goals and objectives and tasks, and I knew a little bit of something about education, then I could run this grant. And if you can write well, you can get grants. And if you can get grants, you're a valuable person in higher education. So writing, for me, in my career, I started on a higher ed in a grant program. That was huge. That was huge. And it's huge for our students. And if you talk to employers, what do they want? They want students who can write. They want students who can communicate orally and in writing. They want students who can work in teams, and they can solve problems, and bring international perspectives to bear for international corporations and our global society. Writing intensive courses, writing across the curriculum. Students can write in every type of course there is. Good writing leads to good thinking. Collaborative projects and assignments, that's another one of those. Takes some time and effort as a faculty member. You got to organize them, you put them in groups. There's always somebody in the group that doesn't do what they're supposed to do. How does that impact on the group grade? How do you deal with that? But our employers want people that can work in groups, because teams, it's all about teams. It's all about being able to get along with other people, people that aren't like you, people that look differently, talk differently, think differently, have different values. So being able to practice it in an environment of challenge and support is critical. That concept of challenge and support comes out of student affairs. That's how we move people developmentally across that continuum I was talking about. We challenge them in a safe environment, and we give them support to help them be successful. That's what happens in group work. Their peers challenge them, you challenge them. It's a supportive environment, should be a supportive environment, and together everyone achieves more. So if you can, I encourage you to incorporate group work and collaborative assignments into your teaching. Undergraduate research has been getting a lot of attention lately as a strategy to help engage students, to make their learning more relevant. Students don't want to sit in a classroom and just learn theories and learn facts. They want to put it to use in something that they care about. And so undergraduate research projects allow students to do that. They don't have to be large, they don't have to be complicated, you don't need an NSF grant to do it. We had a wonderful example at Kent campus. Our dual enrollment coordinator wrote a grant for a small amount of money to have dual enrollment students do undergraduate research. So this is just, this is dual enrollment students, but it's college level work. They're doing undergraduate research on stress among dual enrollment students. That was fantastic. That was fantastic because that was their own experience. They were living it every day, and so were all their friends. And so they put together a survey, they sent it out, they did focus groups, they wrote up their results, They made videos about their results. They presented those in a professional way to peers and to instructors and colleagues. And we used it on campus when we had a celebration of 10 years of dual enrollment at Kent campus. We highlighted those videos. It was the world premiere of those videos. Those students were so proud. They were so engaged. They were so excited about what they had done in this small undergraduate research project. I encourage you to get students engaged, researching things that are relevant and important to them. Diversity and global learning, I've alluded to it already. Our world is becoming much smaller, and yet our population worldwide is increasing. Barriers to communication have shrunk down to nanoseconds. The World Wide Web has connected people like never before. Companies are more and more international. We outsource things, manufacturing sometimes, to companies all across the globe. So to incorporate an appreciation for diversity and to expose our students to different ways of thinking from different countries with different value systems and different governments and different ways of organizing, that's an incredible experience for our students. If there's any way that you can do that, it may be as simple as reading an article from an author from another country. But it exposes them to new ways of thinking. It challenges their values. It forces them to expand their minds. It moves them across that developmental continuum a little bit farther down the road. Service learning and community-based learning. This is going to be a big initiative for us this coming year. In case you haven't been following the news, FSCJ is interested in creating a Center for Service Learning and Civic Engagement. We're pursuing grants around this topic. We're talking about housing a center downtown, contributing to the revitalization of downtown. This is a powerful tool. If you have not used service learning, I encourage you to read up on it a little bit. Because it's about giving back to the community. It's about applying knowledge and skills from a course. And most importantly, it's about reflecting on that experience. So often we're do, go, go, so darn busy we don't have time to step back and reflect. This model forces reflection. Reflection forces students down that developmental continuum to think about what they've experienced when they helped somebody else, to think about what that felt like, to think about the reaction they got from that other person. What did it feel like to help build a house for someone who was homeless? That's powerful. That's connecting at the affective level, not just the intellectual level. Service learning is phenomenal, and it's going to be a big, big piece of what we do at FSCJ. It's going to be a hallmark. People are going to know FSCJ as the service learning school. So I absolutely encourage you to get on board with service learning, civic engagement, any kind of community-based projects where your students can be working out outside of the classroom. They're wonderful things to be learned outside of the classroom and reflected upon and brought back and integrated with what you're teaching. Same holds true for internships. Sometimes this takes a little bit more work to get organized. Internships can be highly organized, like our Year Up program, or they can be as simple as going into an organization and observing. Internships can be paid, they can be volunteer, there's all different flavors. I know that Dr. Chris Holland, our Vice President for Student Services, is committed to bringing together a structure that will allow us to more efficiently and effectively engage students in internships. But if you teach in a field where it is closely connected to a career, maybe one of our PSAV programs or our AS programs, or even on the arts and sciences side of the house, where you've got students who have an interest in computers or in writing, there are opportunities to at least go out and interview somebody in that field and for them to get a taste of what it feels like to walk through that door and see what those people look like in that place and talk about their experiences. It helps connect the curriculum to the real world, relevance, engagement. That's what we're after. That's what internships can do. All right. Capstone courses and projects. We do this in our baccalaureate programs. We're looking into it for even our AA programs, and I know in some AS programs it exists as well. I love capstone courses because students take all that stuff that they've been learning, they've been slogging through, grinding through, learning the theories, learning the formulas, learning how to put all the pieces together, and finally they get to apply it and create something. So it could be a portfolio in a digital media class. It could be a project in a business class where they actually go out, meet with leaders of a business or an organization who identify a problem. Students go back, they research the problem, they come up with a solution, they dress up in their suits and their ties, their skirts and their suits, and they go out and they present to the executive leadership of that organization a possible solution for them. That's powerful stuff. In fact, in our baccalaureate programs at my last institution, when we surveyed students about what made the most difference to them, it was the capstone course. And it was structured like that for what we called organizational management, what you call supervision and management, and now business. But it can take all different kinds of forms. And again, it doesn't have to be that elaborate. It can just be a project, a portfolio, a group of assignments that bring it all together for a student. It could be a research paper. It could be undergraduate research as a capstone project. 2 for 1. So that's the 10 high-impact practices. You've got your handout. You can go to the AAC&U website and learn all you want to. You can read a whole bunch of books by George Koo about how it impacts learning. Backside of the page shows you how these high-impact practices impact student learning and the kind of gains that students receive when they have faculty members who engage with them, build bridges to their careers, to their futures, to what's relevant to them. I'm tying it all up here in a nice pretty package for you. Building bridges, engagement, okay? I encourage you to stay connected. As an adjunct faculty member, it's easy to get disconnected. You're not on campus every day. It's easy to get disconnected, but we're going to be working on, with those schools that I told you about, we're going to be working on communication channels, web pages, ways to keep people connected. I encourage you to please stay connected, please stay engaged. Whatever you do, continue to care. I don't know if you can read the quotes that are up here. This one you probably can. You stopped caring, so I stopped trying. Early in my career, I told you I worked on a grant program. That grant was designed to prevent substance abuse prevention and violence among college students. Before that, when I worked in the public high school, I was a dropout prevention teacher. Before that, when I was a community educator, I was trying to prevent teen pregnancy. So I worked in the field of prevention, or what I like to call health promotion, which has a much more positive connotation. But what I learned was the people who were getting into trouble and had all those negative behaviors had no one in their life that cared about them. And so they drifted away, and they got into drugs, and they got into alcohol, and they had babies when they were too young, and they joined gangs, and they were the victims of violence. And on college campuses, it's easy, particularly ones where you have residence halls and you have a more traditionally aged population that's away from home for the first time and doesn't have much supervision and has a lot of new freedom. It's easy for them to go down those pathways. The point is, when someone like an RA, resident assistant, or a faculty member says, "Hey, I noticed you weren't in class. I really care about your success here. You want to talk about what's going on? You want to talk about ways we can get you back on track?" That snaps people around quickly. Our first year of a program that we had designed to work on this, we had resident assistants and resident hall directors go knock on students' doors and say, "Hey, we see that you're failing your World Civ class. Let's talk about how we can get you back on track because you're spending a lot of money here. We want you to be successful." And all of a sudden it was like, "How do you know that?" And then after that it was, "Well, why do you care?" Well, because that's our job. That's why we're here. So please, whatever you do, continue to care. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So you might be the best faculty member in the world, but if students don't think that you care about them, your chances of getting through are reduced immeasurably. So again, thank you. Thank you so much for what you do. Continue to care. Have a great year. If there's anything that I can do for you, please don't hesitate to contact and let me know. Thank you.
In your handouts and on the back table, there's sheets letting you know which rooms to go to meet your respective deans. Please save one for me so I know which room I'm going to. Karen Arlington was nice enough to salvage some of the cookies, so grab yourself an extra cookie and get you through the last 45 minutes. Thank you all again very much.